It's all forgotten now, the trouble and the pain, forgotten every word I said, forgotten every tear you shed. We're still in love. It's all forgotten now, we're happy once again, our troubles gone beyond recall. Making up is best of all. We're still in love. We're still in love.
So I saw a comment the other day regarding the Fallout TV show that really left me thinking. This is a comment left by Coolio Mulio, basically states that perhaps there's a hidden war going on that we're not aware of yet, a war of ideology. That might be what the war is really about, not resources or wealth, but whether mankind should be controlled or should be let free. This concept is echoed throughout the series, be it through the Brotherhood of Steel's original idea of controlling the technology, or the Legion's view of control versus the NCR's view of freedom. This could be why Shady Sands was nuked, because it was free and not completely controlled. But taking it one step further, isn't instilling or forcing freedom upon people also a form of control? And this actually makes perfect sense as the overarching narrative theme of the entire show. And this goes beyond just the concept of maybe Hank or Vault-Tec wanting to actually literally control all the Wastelanders and maybe some of the Wastelanders fighting for their independence and freedom, which seems to be where we're going at least within Season 2. No, I think there's actually, ironically, even a deeper layer to this entire theme in the fact that in most of the games, every one of us experiences a form of freedom. We control the story revolves around our choices. Yet, when it comes to the Fallout show, we have no real choice at all. It is a very controlled and set structure or narrative for how they want things to eventually roll out. And Todd Howard has already confirmed that the future of the games will be based off of events that happen within this show. In my opinion, if the theme of control versus freedom for the Wastelanders is going to be the overarching narrative, then it possibly will end with one of our heroes potentially sacrificing themselves or stopping the big bad and allowing the Wasteland to remain as wild and as dangerous as it already is. Seeing that despite how hostile this world is, it really is the best the humans could come up with given the circumstances that they were dealt. As like in most world-ending scenarios, it's the powers that be that cause all the damage and the people below that usually have to live with it or die due to it. So ironically enough, this show is showing us a Fallout story that is completely under control and structured. But potentially, with its narrative outcome, it will open up the doors for some very new things in the Fallout games. This adds to the idea they're trying to push that this is basically another installment within the series, and the series culminating in keeping the Wasteland wild and fighting for its chaotic nature is honestly the ultimate form of a video game adaptation paying homage to the games. And sure, there might be some lore mistakes here and there that they tend to forget about, and a lot of the complaints I see I personally find nitpicky, but at the same time, if the writers are creating this narrative as an homage to the games and to provide more freedom to the Wasteland, then I'm all here for it, because at this point we've had powerful factions with a lot of resources, factions that are capable of teleporting in different places and stealing people, replacing them with synthetic humanoid versions of themselves. We have factions that worship eldritch abominations, we have factions that worship nuclear power altogether. It only makes sense we'd have some form of a faction just trying to take complete control of the Wastelanders' minds. And what better story to tell that of a faction trying to take control than that of a narrative that's completely out of the fan base's control? And there are some risks with that. Obviously, it's always good to pay attention to fan feedback and gauge what you're doing right and wrong. Constructive criticism is always vital, but that's not really what I'm getting at. I mainly mean it's obvious the writers are passionate about the Fallout world and universe and the story they're trying to tell. And if the grand narrative is fighting for the Wasteland to stay as wild as it is, despite the positives of actually controlling everybody and keeping them as a polite, subservient human being, I think it highlights the themes of what Fallout's all about, and that's rebuilding through war, as war never really changes, but neither does the human will to endure it. as the only real benefits to complete control over the populace is depending on whoever is actually controlling them. And let's be real, people being under the control of a guy like Hank doesn't really sound like something that will benefit most of humanity. This dude is a complete control freak with very limited morals, but I do enjoy how when he finally confronted Lucy, he was ready to give himself up. Lucy seems confused, and he does try to make an argument vouching for what he's actually doing. Me personally, I still wouldn't trust any of the things they're telling me, considering they're capable of being completely controlled. That being said, there is the physical benefits of them actually being safer down there and not up in the Wasteland surface, possibly getting mugged or shot at any point. And it's also obvious Hank is so ready to be taken home because he's accomplished what he's tried to accomplish, which is perfecting the technology to create such a device to control people. It honestly seems like now his goal is to return to Vault 33 so he can start controlling or enacting this process on the rest of the Vault dwellers, or potentially just the surrounding population around his vault. And I'm honestly decently surprised that he didn't just choose to control Lucy as well. He does seem like the kind of dad to do so, especially considering how intrigued he got when Mr. House offered up the chip to Barb. Speaking of which, I'm glad we got so much more focus on Barb within this episode. And I really enjoy the conflict between both her and Cooper, as you can really see both sides to each. Cooper following his morals and seeing the wrong in everybody embracing the end of the world and picking and selecting a few to have luxuries versus others to suffer. And yet Barb seemingly caught in a position high up in the Vault-Tec Corporation and basically stuck between a rock and a hard place, either following Vault-Tec's orders and doing what they ask, all in the hopes of keeping her family safe, and especially in one of the vaults that won't result in them suffering in some way down the line. Or she could simply quit her job and subject herself and her family to a nuclear atomic fate. I also think that her pre-war encounter with Wilzig and pressuring her to say what she said is a bit of cosmic irony considering what the ghoul does to him later on down the line. But she ends up proving her loyalty in the end by helping Cooper get cold fusion. However, we know at some point this will go back to Wilzig and the Enclave, so I'm not exactly sure how that will go down. It's possible that Cooper will get caught with the cold fusion, and maybe Barb will do something to sacrifice herself or potentially her career, and this will result in the two actually splitting up, for at the end of the episode it seems they're putting aside their differences and working together once more. But you'll have to let me know where you think their dynamic will take them in the rest of the season. Cutting back to Cooper and his pole dance, I actually really enjoyed how he was fighting off the feral nature of the ghoulification process. And it seems, considering he's not a very normal ghoul compared to the rest of them within the Fallout universe, that the more damage he takes, the closer he gets to becoming a feral ghoul. Still, I actually felt a little emotional watching him churn and come back with just enough focus to be able to try to pull himself off and save his daughter. The amount of upper body strength that would take is absolutely insane. But I guess you do become a little stronger when you become a ghoul, but at the same time, as I said earlier, he's just not a very normal ghoul compared to the rest of them within the universe. Sort of like Thaddeus as well, who I assume Cooper was given the same treatment in inhaling whatever that stuff was. Thaddeus seems to be more of a mutant rather than an actual ghoul, and I'm really hoping when him and the ghoul end up talking in the next episode, we get some dynamic between how they actually work or function. And maybe they share some connective tissue in both having the same experience with the snake oil salesman. Either way, the ghoul is lifted from his pole and taken to be given a private show with the new super mutant of the series, voiced by none other than Ron Perlman. In such a beautiful fitting role for the character, I'm glad such an iconic part of the Fallout franchise gets to represent the first ever super mutant we're seeing on screen. And hopefully he's one of the big advocates for keeping the Wasteland as wild as it is, which it seems like that's where he's leading towards. And I do like the idea of someone actually representing mutant kind within the show and defending their existence, as it will add a lot of tension with some of the other factions that we've already seen. And while Cooper is more focused on finding his family, I could easily see Thaddeus joining up with Ron Perlman's super mutant. Which if Maximus ends up back with the Brotherhood of Steel for any reason, or even the NCR, there could be another conflict down the line between them. And what was the weakest plotline for me in what was going on at the Vaults, specifically with the inbreeding support group, ended up finally becoming a little bit interesting. The fact that a non-functioning water chip was always sort of the plan for some of the vaults adds weight to Steph being so nonchalant about Betty's vault floundering, which leaves you to wonder if Betty even knew about these broken water chips or someone just left her completely uninformed, specifically Barb, who she worked for. Or maybe she does know, as it seems like she has a plan for some of these vault dwellers and potentially will just leave them and go join Steph's vault. Or do something much worse to conserve water. But this did bring up a very interesting argument, how basically the vault dwellers are all products of ancestors who put themselves first. The idea of the inbreeding support group actually becoming something to advocate for the vault dwellers' more selfish, cowardly behavior really is an important aspect I think the show's trying to tell about the different types of vault dwellers we see. Either way, it doesn't really matter because these vault dwellers and their hedonism basically results in them having the survival instincts of a snowman during the summer. I think it would be cool if we got a really dark Betty scene with her potentially revealing that she had poisoned all the raiders by also poisoning all of the vault dwellers in the inbreeding support group. And Steph has already essentially proven that overseers can kinda do what they want. As it's kinda sad how she unconsensually forced Chet into a marriage for reasons I can't really put together. It doesn't really seem like she would have to come off normal, as she can kinda do what she wants with the vault dwellers and anyone who talks back to her. But potentially this could all be a distraction so she could get all the vault dwellers in one specific place, possibly enacting her plan to take her Canadian revenge on the American Vault-Tec Corporation. But if you want to hear more about my Steph Canadian insurgency within the series, feel free to check out that video on the channel. And after season 1, I never expected myself to say this, but I was really missing Norm's storyline within this episode. I am a big fan of FEV and the horrifying implications of it within the show and the Fallout universe. The Master and his goal with FEV was one of the more interesting aspects of the Fallout universe for me. And I'm genuinely nervous my boy Norm's gonna be put into some sort of FEV vat and mutated into some different creature of some kind. Considering we already got a super mutant this episode, it'd be strange to see one of our main characters also be turned into a super mutant. But only time will tell, and with very few episodes left in the series, I'm very excited to see where it's gonna go. Either way, let me know what you guys think, let me know if you have any theories for where the show will go, and let me know if there's anything I missed down below. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day, and remember, Ron Perlman is back.
200 years of planning in order for everything to go just right. That seems like a lot of work if you ask me.
Obsolescence. It's a heck of a thing. You know, I try and see it from your perspective. But it's hard to imagine being so dim as to be caught off guard by the inevitable.
Plans are hard. Chaos, though. Chaos is easy.
Power. More than all of human history could ever consume.
Okie dokie.
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.